Welcome to the CBIA BizCast powered by Google. On this podcast, we dive into stories about Connecticut businesses.
Downs Construction actually came to my school.
And business leaders.
I think it's always also really important to be able to see a path forward.
We're shaping the future of Connecticut's economy. Welcome to the BizCast. I'm Amanda Marlowe, and today we are here at Yale New Haven Hospital. We are joined by President and CEO of Yale New Haven Health, Chris O'Connor. Welcome to the BizCast.
It's great to be here.
We are so excited to have you here. We know that you've been in this role now since 2022, and we're excited to learn about how you've navigated and what's ahead. But first, I want to start by talking a little bit about you. You coincidentally were born right across the street, so you are a Connecticut man.
I was. I was born at Yale New Haven Hospital. Was a little premature, so needed their special care unit, and grew up here in New Haven.
And how did your experience here in New Haven kind of shape you?
Well, my mother was a longtime nurse, started here at Yale New Haven, but then did most of her career at the hospital of St. Raphael. And that was incredibly influential on both my growing up and watching her and the care that she provided, but also influencing what I wanted to do with my life. I started as an ER technician when I was a sophomore in college, and came home and got a job at St. Raphael's in their emergency department. And from there, I knew I wanted to be in healthcare for my career.
You were hooked.
I was hooked.
Was it the pace? Was it the, helping people, kind of a mix of everything?
All of the above. I think the emergency department is just a microcosm of hospitals. I mean, you get to see everybody in all sorts of different states, and you work as a team. And I think that, that really compelled me to my interest in healthcare and wanting to help.
And so you started as that emergency room tech, which we know many people in healthcare start in. And how did you get from there to where you are sitting here today?
I'm not sure. I want to reflect on that. I really, it started with focusing on what I wanted to do next. And I knew that I had the interest to combine the clinical and business elements of healthcare. And so I went, after undergraduate, I went to get my graduate degree in hospital administration. I actually stayed at the same school. I graduated both undergrad and graduate down in Washington, D.C. at George Washington. And then started my career undertaking an administrative residency, which was an amazing experience where I could learn side by side with executives that were doing the work and really be fully exposed to what they did on a daily basis. And we actually support fellowship programs here at Yale New Haven Health to this day, and find that it is just a great avenue to bring new folks into the career in a way that fully submerges them into the issues that we face on a day-to-day basis. And
so definitely you had that administrative background, but you also understood, your mom was a nurse, you understood that patient care aspect as well.
Absolutely. And I think that was critical, both from the language and understanding, what the flow of the hospital, and again, the emergency department experience really does embody, what some of the push and pull is every day that goes on in hospitals across the country.
Were there things that you saw, even as a younger person, where you said, this needs looking at, this needs change?
Well, I think the focus, the administrative connection to this frontline staff has always been something that, I feel is critical. And whether it be through rounding, whether it be through open forums, whatever that vehicle is, to try and decrease the disconnect between that frontline staff caregiver who is, really doing the yeoman's work for hospitals on a day-to-day basis, and what our policy and decisions are from an administrative perspective. So that really got instilled to me. There were many late-night conversations with nurses that it really pushed that issue front and center from my perspective.
And you've had a number of experiences over the years. One that I'm sure stands out to you is working down after Hurricane Katrina. You were down south at the time. Tell us about that and kind of how that shaped you a little bit.
Yeah, it really a profound experience, and it started during the evacuation of New Orleans. So I was down at the Ochsner Clinic, which is in New Orleans, and we were one of 3 hospitals that remained open throughout the storm. And I lived across the lake, Lake Pontchartrain in Mandeville, Louisiana, and I remember vividly driving into the hospital on the Sunday of the storm, and everybody was going out, and I was the only car driving back into the city. And it really was a profound experience. I mean, obviously, the storm itself was frightening. It was obviously very impactful. But the team came together. We had a number of issues that we faced and we had to overcome, including power outages, water outages, heat and other issues that were a result of equipment failure that happened after the storm. But what really was profound were the people coming together to serve, and that was putting their life in peril, which I had never experienced in healthcare before, where actually staff were at risk, and it was amazing how that coalesced the team. And at the end of the day, it was still just about the care. And it's a beacon for me that will always remain in my career. And it happens across the country. And I know the people in Florida just faced their experience. And I just sit and marvel at the commitment of our colleagues who just selflessly give of themselves day in and day out.
After Katrina, somehow between then and now, you've come back home. Tell me, about how you got here.
So I originally went to Boston after Katrina, and then the CEO role at the Hospital of St. Raphael opened up, and I had the opportunity to apply for that, and thankfully was accepted into that role, and I returned back in 2009.
Was that something that you always kind of had your heart set on?
It was a dream job for me. And then the reality quickly hit that the Hospital St. Raphael couldn't stand on its own because of its financial position. So we began the acquisition process and then began to work with Yale New Haven. I wasn't sure that I would be moving over to Yale New Haven. And it wasn't until about a month before the transaction closed in September of 2012 that I learned that I would have a potential opportunity here, and I'm thrilled I have, and it's been a wonderful road since then.
Well, we're certainly happy to have you here. And how did that, St. Raphael's was a personal place for you.
It was.
But then you were also leading it and realizing the finances. How did you differentiate between your personal connection and what was right for the business? I mean, did it kind of go hand in hand?
You really had to compartmentalize that. My mom was still working there, and it was very personal. And I had to do, my job was to put it in the best position for the longest term that I could. And you had to depersonalize any of the decisions in order to do that. And so there were some hard decisions that needed to be made and some difficult days, but reflecting back, I will tell you, I feel very strongly that Yale New Haven has been the best partner for the Hospital of St. Raphael. That campus is thriving. We talked about the neuroscience investment that's being made there, that there's more people working there today on that campus than there were when I went back in 2009. So it really has grown and is a robust part of the Yale New Haven health system.
And now we've had another experience where you saw, colleagues walking into the front lines, and you were taking over the hospital at that time, in the height of the pandemic, really. Tell me about, how those two experiences really, that Katrina experience helped you navigate the pandemic.
Well, so in Katrina, I think one of the things that we learned is communication is paramount. And I think some of those examples we could carry over into the pandemic. Katrina was, a day and a half storm, and then the aftermath of the floods obviously were a longer duration. Katrina has been, COVID has been 3 years. And, we're still in it. And, that we're still facing right now, we have patients hospitalized with COVID infection, and our teams are still worn down by it. And they're still, I think, facing fatigue as a result of the work that has taken place. Just amazing that, again, when we didn't have a lot of information and there was great fear around the potential risk of infection, and our people came to work every day to care for others. If you can't be inspired by that commitment, I don't know what could inspire you. It truly has been life-changing, and I am eternally grateful for the team here at Yale New Haven Health and how they responded to COVID-19.
It's really, the pandemic has had a fundamental impact on healthcare. What are some of the things that you've seen the biggest impact that you've seen?
It's been on the people, and the fact that we had so many people leave the industry as a result of just the enduring commitment that was needed, and the fact that folks said, I've given as much as I can. I need to now focus on me, and they stepped away. And, that left us in a completely different, from an employee perspective and workforce perspective, dilemma. We needed to fill roles and do it in ways that we had never done before. We're creating new partnerships with schools and community partners to support that growth and development of our workforce. So it's forced us to change, which I think, in the long run will be positive. But in the short term, it's been a burden, and it's put an economic burden on us that we're working our way through. And most organizations have had to do things differently as a result of that challenge.
There's always been an interest, I think, in healthcare in terms of workforce. There's always probably been a pretty steady stream, and now it's really the first time that you said, "Oh, it's not the same."
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that change is, the immediate reaction has been to really pay more for what we need. But I think what's going to happen over the long term is, we're going to have to redo the work that we fundamentally do and change it, because we're not going to have enough nurses to take care of our patients the way that we used to. We're not going to have enough doctors, I think. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to do more with less, utilize technology and do things differently to support those care members in the work that they do.
And we've got an aging population, which doesn't, help when we know that they're going to have to be filling these hospitals.
That's right.
So tell me about, you mentioned partnerships. Let's talk about some of those partnerships that Yale New Haven Health has really, had been ongoing, but really sparked in the last few years.
Well, it's been with a lot of the universities and community colleges. We have a great relationship with Gateway right here in New Haven. We've developed wonderful relationships with universities across the state. And they're really pivotal because we need all of them. And, really they have stepped up. Each year, universities across the country have qualified candidates for programs in nursing, for instance, that they just don't have enough resources to fill the seats. So we need to come together and find ways to open that pipeline and to do that work in a way that produces more nurses and people interested to go into healthcare, for instance.
And what are some other initiatives that you guys have started as a result? Or I know one of them, the neuroscience building, that really had started before the pandemic.
It did.
Where are we at with that?
So that's an amazing, it's the largest construction project Yale New Haven Health has undertaken. It's over $840 million of investment. It's steel is going up right now on our St. Raphael's campus, and we're hoping to have the building complete in 2026 and occupied in 2027.
And what's the building going to be used for?
So it's really bringing together our most critical services and focusing around neurosciences and both leveraging the research that takes place within the university and at the medical school here at Yale and developing new treatments and therapies for some of the most impactful diseases that folks have suffered through: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. I mean, all those neurodegenerative diseases that we haven't had many new treatments or cures, certainly, in a long time. And, we believe we can make an impact right here in New Haven from both the faculty that the university is investing in and the care that we provide as the health system.
Yeah, and that relationship is so important. You've got some of the top medical students and scientists studying right here. How do you think that, for the future, is it looking bright in terms of what comes out of Yale?
So one of my primary focuses when I took on this role was building the alignment and relationship with the Yale School of Medicine. And Nancy Brown, who's the dean of the medical school, and I have worked extremely hard to forge a deeper and more robust relationship. And in doing so, we believe we can be mutually beneficial. One, we can help support the bench research that has taken place, and it's really cutting edge, the work that's being done at the school. And then with their help, we can begin to translate that research into patient care at our bedside. And that collaboration is something that we believe is absolutely unique. We're in a wonderful position that we can be world-class right here in New Haven.
Yeah, it's definitely a partnership that is unique, just because of, I think, the direct locations between the two. Obviously, a lot of universities have partnerships, but, you have the best and brightest wanting to come study at Yale, and then they're working in the hospitals here.
Yeah, and one of the great things, it's not just in New Haven. We're able to spread that throughout our system.
Yeah.
And so across our entire network, that those students and residents and trainees, as well as faculty, have been able to provide the cutting edge care from Westerly, Rhode Island to Greenwich, Connecticut.
And how do these this cutting edge care, or the idea of working around that, help attract the workforce as well?
Well, that certainly is our pitch. and we believe it's critical because we are offering the latest and most complex treatments. And you can do it in an environment that teaching is part of who we are. It's one of our core missions. And so learning and developing new skill sets and growing within our system is something that we believe is a cornerstone of what we can offer.
On top of the Yale community, Yale New Haven Health is really big within the overarching community of New Haven and also the other areas where you serve. Tell me about the importance of community in helping the hospital succeed.
Well, as you started with, I grew up here, so this community is incredibly important. We are not going anywhere. I know there's been some businesses that have chosen to leave Connecticut. We can't. We're here for good, and we believe, and we have to contribute to the growth and success of the state and our regions around us. So we're committed to that, and everything we do, and for our employees as well as for programs, is about making our communities better, safer, and our people healthier.
So one of the big events that just passed was the 13th annual Closer to Free Ride. It benefits the Smilow Cancer Center, or Cancer Hospital, and the Yale Cancer Center. Tell me about that. It's been a long time tradition, really, for some people, and it brings the community together, also benefits the patients. What's the importance?
It's really a fantastic event. I've had the privilege to ride in it since I joined the organization, and to see everybody coming together and doing it with the sole focus to beat cancer. Everybody's been touched by cancer, and I think very personally, and so it's a very personal ride for folks. So whether you're riding 10 miles or riding 100, it's just amazing to watch the commitment of the team members and the riders themselves, who have just worked so hard to fulfill that ambition to get across the finish line. And And it really embodies, that survivorship chase as well, in terms of, never give up, fight to the end. And so many people have done that on a daily basis. And we're so proud of the care and the work that goes on at Smilo and the Yale Cancer Center.
Yeah, and as someone who lives in the community, it's great to see so many people coming together. To remind everyone, yes, the hospital's here; they're serving these patients every day. And throughout the health system. So definitely a great event.
It's a fantastic event.
And as we look for the future, what's next for Yale New Haven Health? What are some of your visions as we? Obviously the pandemic really isn't over, but we are stepping into a bit of a new chapter.
Yeah, I think it's continuing to grow. We're going to continue to look at areas to expand and continue to be able to deliver the best care to the people that we serve. And that's the mission. And, we're committed to it and really excited about what the future holds.
So as you take a step back and think about what these past few years have been, as a leader, what are some of the biggest things that you've learned maybe about yourself or, about your leadership style and how it has to adjust maybe?
I think I've learned that you have to persevere, that it's harder. And I think the environment gets more difficult and you have to rely on your team more and more. We have a phenomenal team here at Yale New Haven Health. I am so privileged to work with all of my colleagues, and I think that's something that you just really lean on when those times are more and more difficult. And I think we've experienced that more acutely over the pandemic. That has really risen to say, you have to work with each other. You also have to step back. I think one of the things that I didn't do during Katrina that happened because of the duration of the pandemic was you have to step back and take a break and take care of yourself during this process as well. And I think as leaders, that's something that, we don't really talk about. It creates a vulnerability, but I think it's been very important. And I think it's served me well to reinvigorate and get back in and do the work because, again, it's a marathon.
Well, just like everyone else, people burn out, right?
That's right.
Even the best leaders, and you don't want to get to that point where you're making decisions, but your head's not really there. And I think that's important.
Well, and you're on stage all the time. I mean, you are, the poster child of the organization. And so it's really important that when you are on, you're able to be on. And the only way to do that is to make sure the batteries are fully charged.
Do you think that's given you an understanding too of what the people around you are going through? Or the need for that?
Absolutely. But what they're doing, I marvel at, and they have been working in an environment that is incredibly difficult. So obviously my job is to help to support that and to ensure that they have the resources that they need to do their work. That's been more difficult with the financial pressures. So, it's a cycle, and we have to all do our jobs to be successful. But I really do marvel at our caregivers.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to see what they're doing every day. And I think, everyone's looking forward to seeing what's next for Yale New Haven Health and these buildings that are going up. It'll be something exciting. For sure. Great. Well, thank you so much for being part of the BizCast, and thank you for listening to this week's BizCast. You can listen, like, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave us a review and let us know if you have ideas for future podcasts. And as always, you can see a full list on CBIA.com.